Hi there, it's Michelle Leone from Paper Tray Ink, and I'm here with my very first Make It Monday project, which I'm entitling Simple Stitched Stems, where I've created a Mother's Day project. I'm using Hibiscus Burst, green parakeet, and lots of Stamper Select White. I'm starting with an A2 size card base, which has been polka dot embossed, my very favorite. I'm using the Tag Sale Quilted die, a little layering of Hibiscus Burst, and a stitch square base, along with some florals from Simple Stems, and also from some little leafy bits from the cover plate nesting die. So we'll get started with the stitching portion of this card, which we're putting on the stitch square base. You can line up your 3 stems with either a regular ruler or your T-square, or you can use a little stitching guide, which I've had in my stash for a long time, which helps you to sort of pre-score the little holes where your needle and thread will go through, and it just makes it a little bit easier so that you're not warping your paper, and it does help your stitching go a lot smoother. So I'm lining up all my little 3 stems, and then I'm going to use my craft cord, which is from Michaels. It's a little bit fancier than embroidery floss, and it also makes great crocheted flowers. Comes in a rainbow pack for $3.99. And I'm doing a little back stitching with a bright green, which is a pretty good match for that green parakeet. And I'm doing back stitching. I'm going to go all the way through and finish my 3 straight little stem lines. So really simple stitching, and it's a back stitch, and it holds really nice and taut, so you don't really need too much tape to, you don't need anything to keep those stitches down. And then once I finish up my last stitch, I'm just going to take my remaining thread and tuck it under the other threads and just snip it right off. So we're going to snip off the thread, and then we're going to start to build our project. So there's my 3 stems, and now we're going to adhere this layer to the first Hibiscus Burst layer, which then will go on the Tag Sale Quilted along with a little bit of gingham ribbon. But before we get to that part, we're going to stamp our sentiment banner, also from Tag Sale Quilted, and we're going to be using the sentiment from Butterfly Blooms, Happy Mother's Day. So I'm getting ahead of my Mother's Day game, yay me. And then I will be stamping the little sort of lilac-y floral burst from Simple Stems in Hibiscus Burst. And once those are all stamped, I'm just going to add a little bit of something else to those centers with some raspberry ice stickles. Those will need about 5 or 10 minutes to dry, so you want to set those aside, or you could always just speed up the process with your heat gun. So those have a little bit of sparkle in the center. I'm going to set those aside. And then we'll start putting our card together. So we have our stitched layer, which has double-sided tape on the back because of that little bit of added dimension. And we will adhere the stitched panel to the Hibiscus Burst panel, which will then be layered onto the Tag Sale Quilted base. And then we're going to attach our little floral bursts. The first 2 are attached with double-sided tape, again because we have a little bit of added dimension from that stitching. So 1 to the right, and then 1 to the left. And then that center floral has a little bit of dimension with double-sided tape, so it stands up a little bit. And then we have the little tiny leaves from the cover plate nesting, the tiniest of which goes in the center, and that's really tiny, and goes in onto that center stem. And then the double leaf die cuts go to the right and to the left. And then we're going to center that sentiment banner just at the bottom of those stitched stems and centered on the tag. And then we're going to take our gingham ribbon and do a little bit of attempted bow tying here, a little bit of fluffing, and maybe a little bit of retying, and then a little bit of more fluffing and fussing with that. Once I have that the way I want it to look, I will snip off the ends so those look nice and tidy. Oh, let's try this one more time. Here we go. Tying the bow again. And once I get it the way I kind of want it to look, there we go. Little trim off the ends. And this layer also has double-sided tape because you now have basically three layers here on the card. You want to make sure it's nice and stuck on nice and tight there, which it is. And then I'm going to use my corner rounder, my 1/4-inch corner rounder, and round off all 4 corners. And there we go. There's my Mother's Day card, all finished. Thanks so much for joining me today for this week's Make It Monday. Here's a few more projects that I made using this technique. And we hope that you'll be inspired to craft a simple stitched stem project of your own. Be sure to head on over to the Paper Training blog to link up your floral creation. Can't wait to see your little masterpiece. Have a great week, everyone. Thanks so much for joining me.